Aloha folks and welcome to this Hearts of Iron playthrough with a very special mod. The official mod name is Après Moi le Déluge, and there's a... I'm going to talk all about it, but for the sake of simplicity I'm actually going to title it, I don't know, Napoleonic Age or something of the sort, because, well, I mean this is a sort of an obscure reference for non-French speakers. But basically, it's a mod set in the world where Napoleon won his campaigns. Today marks the 70th year since the outbreak of the Republican revolutions. The Continental System established by Napoleon weathered the storm, battered but victorious. The malcontents of the world licked their wounds and bided their time. Radicals and Republicans, Jacobins and Nationalists all watched for signs of weakness. Today, the strength of the Continental System will be tested once again. In many ways, this mod it's quite huge, and I'd actually like to compare it with Kaiserreich. It's basically, or rather, Kaiserreich. I keep having Germans saying that I don't pronounce Reich, yeah, properly. It's more like a K and not Reich with a CH. Anyway, whatever. It's huge. The consequences, obviously, of Napoleon winning this whole world that has been created, they're quite huge, and each country does have, or they're trying to go for a special focus tree. I'm not actually too sure of what we've got, but I know that the main contenders in the campaign are basically the Jacobins and Socialists, the Radicals, which have spawned in Germany, who goes through some sort of civil war between the People's Republic of Germany and some other factions. I think it's the Teutonic Reich, and there's another, yes, the Kingdom of Westphalia. So the monarchists versus the fascists versus the radicals battle it out, and that applies to basically the whole world. And there has been some sort of World War I where France was able to win, I think, but yes, they were still battered by the war and the experience. Now, it's quite a lot of fun reading the little brief histories for all the different countries that are on the starting screen here, but we've actually have to make a choice, you know. It's going to be one of these, and there are a few more. Something really cool is that we've got the Kingdom of Sweden, Denmark, Kingdom of Louisiana, Federal Kingdom of America, we've got the Heavenly Kingdom still there. It's all quite a lot of fun. Now, we'll be playing this particular campaign as the French Empire, or rather, Communist France. We're gonna turn Jacobin, the revolution. The fire of revolution shall burn bright again in France, and I think we can have quite a lot of fun with that. But of course, if you do enjoy, do already leave a like and suggestions down below, because there are so many interesting countries here. I mean, I can, oh yes, like playing as the Heavenly Kingdom, Empire of China, Empire of Tibet. Wow. Portugal has quite a lot of stuff in Africa too. We have Gran Colombia still united. Brazil has its borders as they are today. La Plata, actually, maybe this Cisplatina should be part of Brazil, but whatever. Empire of Mexico. Yeah, Federal Kingdom of America, Kingdom of Louisiana, Socialist Republic of Quebec. I mean, this is gonna be so much fun. But back to the screen here, because I do want to read this brief history before we start, just so you get a sense of, you know, what we're going into. The empire established by Napoleon was supposed to civilize the world, bring peace to Europe and glory to France. It succeeded for 100 years, but the peace was shattered in the most traumatizing way imaginable. Once the Great War had been won by France just a few short years ago, and the English and Russians, her perpetual enemies, were humiliated, half a generation of men lay in shallow graves stretching from Calais to Romania. The trauma of the loss of this cream of the French manhood weighs heavily on the fatherland, even as the embers still flicker in the ruined nations of losers and victor alike. Napoleon IV ascended the throne on May 15th, 1926, after the death of his father, Eugene II. He has ruled conservatively without expanding his powers at the expense of the National Assembly, continuing the dynastic trend of enlightened despotism. Nonetheless, he's a very public figure and actively seeks to increase his popular support. Now, there's no real reason for me to run Iron Man, especially with a mod, because I do need to sometimes go in and fix shit that happens, because Hearts of Iron, after all, is a rather unstable game. But then, Road to War. AI nations will tend towards more extreme options. Countries will be more likely to declare wars via event, accept requests to join factions, and seek out casus belli in their focus tree. So we're gonna turn that on. Anyways, I've babbled long enough, and you can see that this mod does add a bunch of little victory points everywhere. Every city here does account towards capitulation, so it's not like vanilla where, you know, you take a few cities and suddenly a country just collapses. Here you actually have to fight. But the French Empire, let's see. We've got the Party of Order, which is the monarchist party. We've got the Party of Movement, which is democratic. We've got the Jacobin Socialist Party, which is the radical party. And we've got Action Française, which is ultra-nationalist and, yeah, is basically the fascist. The Continental System, as you can see, is sort of shattered. We've only got a couple of states in it. Let me actually check who they are. We've got the Duchy of Luxembourg, French India, French Indochina, and Pomerania. Pomerania being there. That's the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. We've got French India here and French Indochina. The British still do hold India. It's kind of funny that Napoleon establishes and wins the whole Continental System thing. I don't know what the exact lore behind this is, but Britain is obviously still our main rival, and they still do hold a huge part of India, which I don't think Napoleon would have been very happy with. The whole idea, you know, this was the main textile production region in the late 1700s, and a very contested region. In fact, that's part of the reason why the excursion into Egypt happened in the first place, because the French wanted to take back their colonies in India. Now, I know I'm babbling quite a lot, and but that's because I'm just so fascinated about the lore and all these little details. I'm a huge fan of the Napoleonic Era, so and a huge fan of maps, so I'm just gonna babble on for quite a while. Now, I'm not going to claim that the focus tree is very huge. We do have a nice focus tree, but it's not like Kaiserreich. But there's potential, and there's a bunch of options here. As you know, we're going to go communist, so we're going to go down this way. And then we'll see what we do. So basically, this is also Germany. This is where the civil war is going on right now. We've got Ernst Thälmann, the real-life communist at this time in the real world. He leads the People's Republic of Germany. We've got August von Mackensen in the Teutonic Order, and we've got the monarchists in the south. The only thing here is I've actually tried playing as the People's Republic of Germany, and it is extremely difficult surviving this civil war, because you have two fronts to push in, and they both have about the same amount of troops as you. So yeah, it's not easy. Technology tree is the same as vanilla, though, just as, I mean, it is a lot of work to add a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm already impressed, so the fact that it's the same technology doesn't surprise me. Right, so we've got two national spirits. We've got Emperor of the French, which give us monarchist drift, and we have Great War Horrors, which give us recruitable faction, or population factor -24%, joint faction potential limit, and send volunteer limit, which is obviously detrimental. There are some cool new features and laws and policies here, though. We can choose between robber barons, welfare state, established religion, or labor camps. We can choose propertied vote, universal suffrage, limited suffrage, or no voting, and we can choose gold standard, fixed exchange, floating exchange, or inflationary pricing, which is also pretty cool if you ask me. I think that we're gonna go down this eventually, but let's go with the League of Nations first. In order to promote international cooperation and to achieve international peace and security by the acceptance of obligations not to resort to war, the contracting parties agreed to this covenant of the League of Nations. And these are quite short foci, so should be pretty quick, and there are events that you get to vote for. All our field marshals start off as old guards, so I'm just gonna promote my level 4 generals to field marshals. Also, this is before the obviously it's December now, but in the next DLC that Paradox has announced, there's gonna be like sub commanders and stuff, which is really gonna add quite a lot of new stuff to Hearts of Iron that I really enjoy, and not make selecting generals this easy. Alright, enough babbling. I've been sitting around, moving my armies, preparing everything. I think it's time to get started. Commonwealth reforms, the defense and colonial policies of the Kingdom of Great Britain have recently undergone large changes with the rolling out of Commonwealth reforms. This marks the cementing of self-rule in the old British dominions. The imperial governors are now largely symbolic, and the legislatures are assuming full sovereignty. Neville Chamberlain now presides over an alliance of equals rather than a centralized empire. The first May Day, blah 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 blah, yes. You can read that if you want. Basically, we've just passed the 1st of May, and the ruling classes, of course, do not particularly enjoy May Day. It's a very volatile moment. Nothing really happened, but the radicals gained 5% popularity. Good. At the conclusion of the Great War, the French Empire began a project to ensure peace and stability across Europe and the world. The League of Nations today issued its covenant and invited other nations to sign it in order to promote international cooperation and to achieve international peace and security by the acceptance of obligations not to resort to war, blah 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 blah. Yes, we already read this. And noble endeavor. I think it's time to start going down meritocracy. Our nation needs talented individuals in the bureaucracy and armed forces. The best and brightest should govern. Japanese ultra-nationalists, a far-right faction, have seized power in Japan following a brief period of civil unrest in which several hundred government ministers and moderate army officers were arrested. The unrest ended when the emperor intervened by commending the League of Blood for their initiative. War Minister Hideki Tojo has been appointed for Prime Minister of Japan. Japan appears to be entering an expansionist and revanchist phase. Was it a mistake for Hirohito to give up direct control? Oh, this is really cool. With the Heavenly Kingdom, they're actually, like, it's this guy who professes to be the reincarnation or younger brother of Christ, something of the sort. It's during the Boxer Rebellions. I mean, there was this preacher that went around and actually claimed to be descended from the younger brother of Jesus or something. And it seems like for this alternate history, they actually created a dynasty and the European powers intervened. Actually, it looks like Poland and Hungary have a faction called the Central Powers. Ah, damn! The Anglo-Spanish alliance. The governments of Spain and Britain have agreed to a military alliance. In future wars, the two governments will not sign separate peace agreements with mutual belligerents. The British government has also quietly ended its demands for the return of Gibraltar and Ceylon, territories seized by Spain at the conclusion of the Great War. This alliance is surely intended for waging war against France. Outrageous. Hu Hanmin passes away. The Chinese Prime Minister and Constitutionalist Party leader Hu Hanmin has passed away of a cerebral hemorrhage at age 57. A respected politician, he was able to bring the left and right factions of the nation together to prevent civil war. The Central Committee has decided to appoint Field Marshal Zhang Suilang as successor. The young leader of the left faction of the Constitutionalists is suspected of having some sympathy for the ideals of radicalism, but the first goal of his new government will surely be containing further Japanese expansionism. The young marshal is surely too inexperienced to lead the Empire of China. Turkey moves towards absolutism. The Ottoman Empire mourned the death of a war hero, Mustafa Kemal Pasha. An accomplished general during the Great War, he later participated in political intrigue that almost toppled the ancient house of Osmanli. but brought Turkey back from the brink of civil war by reconciling the republicans and monarchists. The absolutist sovereign Mehmet VII has repudiated the idea of Kemal Pasha being a father of Turkey, accepting only his legacy as a brilliant general. Good. I was about to choose a minister here. We're probably going to go for Émile Dupé-Thouars, who's the radical trade unionist, but we have this dude here, Charles Bébiguer de Terre-Neuve-du-Sang. I'm very sorry for my French, but he's the most powerful magi and can train, will help. Wait, what? Anyway, he protects us from curses by 50%. That is hilarious. Anyway, I was just looking if there was any other trade. Communist Revolutionary. There we go. That's the one we want. 0.1. Maurice Thorez, the actual real-life communist, right? Yes, Maurice was the leader of the Communist Party from 1930 until his death. Now, just a suggestion, if the person or the people who have made this mod are watching, really loving it so far, but I'd love you to maybe change the title of the mod. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. I mean, it's cool and all, but I don't think many people get it. Après Moi, le Déluge is actually attributed to King Louis XV. Actually, originally his lover, but she said, Madame de Pompadour said, Après moi, or no, Après nous le Déluge, and then the king, I think, said, Après moi le Déluge, which basically has mixed meanings, but a lot of people just, you know, now that we've had the French Revolution, you can interpret it as, oh, after me, the downfall, or the deluge. So he sort of maybe knew that things were going to go bad, but this was right after a particular battle. Actually, let me look up what battle it was. Ah, it was the Battle of Rosbach, and yeah. Also, the air squadron that busted the dams, you know, the dam busters, they actually had Après moi le déluge as their motto. I'm gonna go with Lessons of the Great War next. I know I really want to rush down here, but I feel like we might end up on the defensive, so it's important that we are ready for that. I'm actually already gonna add this dude here, the Army Reformer, as our Chief of Staff. He gives us not only daily experience gain, but also experience gain boost and military leader cost reduction. God damn it, Portugal joins the Commonwealth. Of course they do. Let's see if we can pass a Prisoners of War Act. I wonder who is even in the League of Nations at this point, because it's not a faction. Is it just everyone that won the war? How do I see that? We're gonna make the jump to extensive conscription already. I know I don't have much political power, but whatever. Field hospital is my favorite technology. Infantry division template, glorious. Convention on prisoners of war. Capturing one's opponent was always the most noble outcome in battle. Oh damn, this actually gives an extra research slot, but to do that I have to complete this entire tree. I'd rather get popular sovereignty now. We now have the opportunity to vote on the proposal to guarantee captured soldiers some basic dignities. If we ratify this convention, there will be very slight increases to the cost of making war, but our troops will be less brutalized. Military leader cost plus 25%. Oh. Our vote carries twice as much weight as that of minor countries. We're gonna vote yes. Oh damn, I should have done this before. I just realized that this is not... It doesn't go depose the emperor and then land reform. It goes youth organizations then land reform without having to depose the emperor. So we're gonna go youth organizations because political power plus 10% and division recovery rate plus 10%. Very powerful. And then we can also get the land reform, which is radical drift, and construction speed, which is just glorious. If you've watched my videos before, I am quite a sucker for mass assault. I basically always do mass assault. But I always play either minor nations or the big manpower nations like the Soviet Union, India, etc. Here we already start with the Grand Battle planned doctrine, which is, you know, totally understandable. We were playing France. However, I do think if we're going to go on the offensive, we've got to go for the superior power. I know we'll be giving up trench warfare there, but just the power of soft attack is just glorious. So, yes. Communist labor battalions. The People's Republic of Germany has begun conscripting civilians into construction battalions used for fortifying key locations such as bridges and major cities. In a speech to the Volkskammer, Thälmann stated that desperate times call for desperate measures and called on patriotic German citizens to do their part to achieve ultimate victory over the reactionaries. While the bunkers, minefields, and trench lines around Dortmund and Essen may only be situationally useful, the ability of the communist state to mobilize large numbers of men will likely be more important to the war effort. In fact, if we switch communist quickly, we are almost there, to be honest. We could come in and help out Germany, although it might already be too late for that. Central powers expand into Serbia. Oof, this is getting quite aggressive. It's already 37. Or rather, still 37, but it really depends on how you see things. Conventional prisoners of war passes. Capturing one's opponent was always the most noble. Yes. Sweden seems to be going the democratic route, or rather, should I say, the Kingdom of Sweden-Denmark. I mean, look at that flag. Actually, quite a decent flag. I don't mind that. I have so much political power. I totally did not notice. I think we're gonna go with actually early mobilization. Although we're almost going communist, so I'm thinking we should probably just put in a. We have an electronics researcher here somewhere. Industrial concern. Yes, industrial concern, production efficiency, industrial research time. Electronics. No, I do like my industrial research time going down. We're also going to place Michel Keller. Oh my god, I just butchered it towards the end. It was good in the beginning, but then I just failed. Anyway, he's a specialist, not an expert, but infantry division attack and defense, plus 4%. There, let's go for the land reform. This is gonna be good. The farmers and peasants have struggled to survive on the scraps left from them, for them by the nobility and clergy. Let us redistribute the land and give them hope. Greece has now joined the Central Powers. Oh, Serbo-Albanian war imminent. Diplomatic wrangling between Serbia and Poland has finally ended after several days of secret meetings and discussions. The specifics of the discussions are unknown to the public, but troop movements along the Albanian border seem to indicate a surprise Serbian attack is forthcoming. Draza Milankovic has refused to comment further. Very concerning. Our general staff have been re-examining many of the army's fundamental or foundational doctrines since the Great War, and now thought is turning to the great strategists and tacticians of the 19th century who formed the basis of our old textbooks, Jomny, Clausewitz, and Bülow. Jomny's ideas centered on lines on communication and bases of operation. He believed that geographically outmaneuvering the enemy was the most efficient means by winning a war, which required surprising the enemy by striking at vulnerable spots, and that sufficiently advanced general could achieve victory without even fighting a decisive battle against the main enemy forces. Clausewitz looked instead to the mass conscript armies of as the basis of victory, believing modern war would become more and more total in nature. In the perfect war, psychology and morale would play the key role, with geography and maneuver relegated to secondary concerns. Neutralizing the enemy army, whether by battle or surrender, would be more important than seizing territory. Bülow's ideas were more successful in the field of light infantry tactics, but strategically he believed that mathematics was the key to victory, with successful attacks dictated by choosing the correct angles of incidence to the enemy. Now, the corruption, this gives us movement speed and encryption plus research time. Clausewitz gives us the organization plus 10% and recovery rate plus 20% for 720 days, so it's not forever, which is unfortunate. Or maybe we get to choose this again afterwards. And then we have Bülow, which just gives us military leader cost and division training time. But I do like Clausewitz myself a lot, so we're gonna go ahead with Clausewitz. You can read this yourself. I think it's basically the same with a bit more extra text there. The famous Field Marshal Joseph Pilsudski has passed away at age 69. Interesting times. Here we go, stuff is happening. Kingdom of Greece declared war on the Kingdom of Albania, and Greater Serbia declared war on Albania. Today has seen one of the largest parades in living memory, even larger than the 1936 May Day March. The devastating post-war economic adjustment has left millions of Frenchmen out of work, and they're marching in the streets with the trades. I don't like how it's trades, but trade unionists, socialists, and Republicans to voice their anger. The huge size of the demonstration was noticed by the entire nation. Radicals go up in 15%. That is actually really cool. Let's see, how much is that? Yes, we have 56% now. Benito Mussolini has agreed to enter the Central Powers. Expanded the Continental System. It seems war threatens Europe once again. Otto I feels threatened by Polish maneuvering, and the Austrian Empire has submitted an application to join the Continental System for mutual protection from Central Powers. We accept our new ally. Weapon advances is next, and I'm just waiting for Napoleon IV to get deposed. Giraud shall be our military theorist here, or an extra one. Which is, or not an extra one, right? This is industry and theory. Kingdom of Bulgaria joins the Continental System. Why not? Polish Empire declared war on the Kingdom of Romania. Romania joined the Russian bloc. Unfortunately for Russia, they don't actually have a border right now with the Central Powers, but I feel like war is about to come to us. Here we go, finally, radical uprising. The growing radical sentiments in the French Empire have reached a tipping point. The French Jacobin Socialist Party leadership believes that they have secured enough support among the people and the security forces to launch a coup attempt and topple the government of Napoleon IV. There are Republican militias distributing weapons in the streets in preparation for a full-scale civil war. We can now either capitulate to the demands of the rebels or restore order by force. And of course, we shall allow the Jacobin Socialist Party to take over. And the Party of Order will resign to preserve the peace, or rather, preserve the order. And look at that flag, that is beautiful, and that portrait is also very nice. Ah, yes, French Socialist Republic. Now, unfortunately, it seems I cannot just declare war on Westphalia here. I can't just... yeah, I need some political power to justify a war goal. And we also have Socialist Republic of... or the People's Republic of Germany is not any more friendly with us, unfortunately. Let us depose the Emperor. I mean, he's already been deposed, since we are communist, but... or rather, radicals. But I think this is more for... those who choose democratic path. I'm not actually sure. The strain from the huge differences that have emerged between our former puppets ruling French crown, blah 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 blah. Okay, so basically you can read this again yourself, but Vietnam, or French Indochina, has decided to declare independence, and I think we're gonna have to go our separate ways in peace. Of course, it'd be lovely to hold this, but you know, we'll get there soon enough. Kingdom of Spain cancels non-aggression pact, of course. This would cost us 34 political power and take 170 days. I'll do it. Latin Royalists. The Kingdom of Louisiana creates a faction to balance the Europeans. Brazil wants to enter. Yes. Grand Duchess Marie Adelaide betrays us. You know, since I am so focused on Germany, I'm actually gonna let Luxembourg go. And I'll gain political power as well. I was so confused. I actually had to search up on Google where Tamil Nadu and Travancore are. And yeah, Tamil Nadu is our puppet state, a republic, and Travancore is a monarchist faction group here. They have 3 to 5 divisions. I think we should be able to actually help out our friends here. And the last thing in this episode, I think, is going to be us starting the Nation at Arms after the Emperor has been deposed. And, yeah, it does look like these guys are actually a little bit stronger than our colony, but we're sending troops, so hopefully we'll be able to push them back. Anyway, that has been the first episode of the series. Do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the episode, share with your friends. It really does help me out a lot, and of course is always fun to have your friends watch the same thing as you, so you have something to talk about. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. This has been Gabster. I'll see you in the next one. Farewell.